Mr. Wiseman.
Here.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Here.
Ms. Dodd.
Here.
Ms. Forrest.
Here.
I'm here, and Mr. Carlson.
Here.
Present and accounted for.
All right, please rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, I'm going to ask for approval of the agenda, but I am going to slide communications item 2A to after 2D. So items from the board president, I'm going to place after it. That way we can get to the show at hand here. I'm sure kids don't want to hear any boring speech from the board president. So without further ado, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Ms. Dodd, supported by Ms. Cotter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We'll now move to recognitions. Superintendent Salah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be turning it over to Ms. Rothler.
Good evening. I get to announce the favorite part of the school board meeting, and that is where we get to recognize many of the people in our community and in our district that go above and beyond. So we're going to start today with our Huron Valley hero. Today we are going to recognize Pam Barkholtz. Not only is Pam a substitute social worker at White Lake Middle School, but in her spare time she works with the local Huron Valley Optimist Club. And one of her passion projects is Blessings in a Backpack. Blessings in a Backpack was established in 2014 after a teacher began to give apples to her students on Monday morning. This teacher noticed a difference in her classroom every time she did it. So Optimist Club decided to start doing that as part of a project and collecting food donations to be able to help many of the children in our community receive food that they need. The program was completely supported by volunteers outside the schools, and many of its donations are from businesses and community members. And one of those volunteers is our Huron hero today, Pam Barkholtz. Pam?
Thank you for that recognition and for that warm welcome and your hearty hands. I very much appreciate the support of this district, not only for myself, but for the children in the district. It is really a district that cares about our kids. And I'll tell you, there you go. You get me when I talk about caring about kids. And I've done this for a long time, but I care about kids and this district cares about kids. So I so appreciate that level of support for our kids. And I want to tell you that I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of a hard time if I have to go 10 or 12 hours without food. Yep. Well, we have children, not only in this district, but all over the United States that go 65 hours without knowing that they're going to get adequate food. That's the time between Friday afternoon when they leave school and Monday morning when they return. They do not know for sure that they're going to get what they need, and they may get nothing. Teachers recognize this because they are the haven for these children when they return to school Monday morning. And so what we know is that if we can help children get the proper nutrition, they have better immune systems, lower hospitalizations, higher IQs, lower behavior problems that probably come from short attention spans, because when you and I are hungry, we're out there looking for something to do, right? To try to fill that void. And those children don't have to do that on Monday morning because we have sent home 6 meals that are that meet all the federal nutritional guidelines for their weekend. Now, we started this program in 2015-16 with 70 students at the Brooks Center. Well, no, because it was Brooks Elementary School then. And we only needed $7,000 that year, but it took us a little while to raise that. This year, we probably will serve 1,000 children. The cost in 2015-16 was $100 per child per school year. The cost this year is $150 per child per school year. You've all gone to the grocery store. You know what the food prices are. So we are doing what we can to get the donations that we can get, the grants we can get, the support we can get, to be able to serve maybe 1,000 children this year. That doesn't even touch the number that really needs it according to our free and reduced list. It doesn't even touch it. But you know something? If we serve 1,000, we're really going to serve, what is it, about 8,800 students that we have in the district now? Because every child's classroom is managed better and is a happier, more positive place because the teachers are receiving children that have received the nutrition that they needed. So there you go. Thank you very much. I so appreciate your support. I appreciate the ability to be able to do this and the ability to rally other community volunteers that work really hard to raise this money. So thank you very much for the recognition. But know that that recognition goes to you too for caring about these kids. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Board Member Forrest, and on behalf of the Huron Valley Schools Board of Education, you're going to make me cry too. You do such great work for not only our community, but for our students as well. And, you know, we are all forever grateful. So I'd like to present this Huron Valley Hero Award to you, but you're not just a hero in this room tonight. You're a hero 24/7 every single day, and we appreciate you for that. So thank you.
So much. Yes.
So clearly I underestimated the word passion project. Thank you very much, Pam. Your passion is true, and we will be posting information. I think there is information on the Optimist Club website, but we'll also have that information on hvs.org if you would like to get involved with anything with the Optimist Club, but more importantly, the Blessings with a Backpack. So thank you. Now for our Huron Valley highlights portion of it, I am going to turn this over to our Director of Curriculum, Marty Lindberg.
Thank you. I actually thought I was going to have to go behind the kids, so I'm really excited to get out in front of them. So on behalf of our Teaching, Learning, Technology Department, we work with our new teachers, and something that's been a long-standing tradition in this district is our new teacher group. And so that's something we work with pretty frequently. And myself, Martin Lindberg, along with Jennifer Bjorkman, the Director of State and Federal Programs, and Lena Nemeth, who is our Director of Data Analysis. The three of us work hand in hand with Jennifer Hollander and Nikki Kamazar and Jennifer Hiddle. I'm trying to see if they're in the back of the room. A lot of faces back there. But what's really nice about that is we've created a nice working relationship with actual teachers in our district and administrators. And so what we do is we meet with new teachers regularly and help them prepare for our upcoming school year. For instance, we met with them for 2 full days in August before the school year started, introduced them to a lot of different programs that are in our district, taught them a little bit more about Huron Valley that they may not have been aware of, and just helped them get comfortable so when they started the school year, they had a really good start. We continue to work with them and their mentors. All new teachers are assigned a mentor to work with for the first 3 years in our district. We actually met tonight and worked on timely topics such as parent-teacher conferences. We were talking with them about that. And what's nice is having Jennifer Hiddle and Nikki Kamazar in the room. The two of them can talk from firsthand experience on how to work with parents and students for parent-teacher conferences. And then also we brought in a couple of administrators, an elementary administrator, Mr. Chiswick, and a secondary administrator, Dr. Knudsen. And we were able to talk about the teacher evaluation program. And not only were they hearing from the teachers in the group, but then they're hearing from administrators in the district. So throughout the year, we continue to work with them and help build the program and support them as much as possible. We were commenting on what a positive group this is and how inspiring that is to start the school year and to have this group that we're working with. So we're excited to introduce them tonight. We're excited that they're a part of Huron Valley Schools. For the new teachers in the room, you'll see lots of administrators that are also here tonight. They're here to recognize you and say thank you for being a part of Huron Valley Schools. So with that, we'll start with our first new teacher. Michelle Huff. Michelle is an ASD teacher at Lakeland Elementary, and she's actually been working for 13 years. Emily Studebaker. Emily is a speech and language pathologist at Kurtz Elementary, and she has been working for 25 years. Audrey Dunbar. Audrey is a speech and language pathologist at Apollo Early Childhood Center. She has been working for 7 years in speech pathology. However, this is her first year in schools and at Huron Valley. Julia Williams. Julia is a first grade teacher at Kurtz Elementary, and this is her first year in teaching. Kelly Mattingly. Kelly is a social worker at both Johnson and Kurtz Elementary. Kelly has been a social worker for 13 years, but this is her first one in a school. Ashley Martin. Ashley is a social worker at Highland Elementary. This is her first year as a school social worker, but she's been 3 years as a social worker outside of schools. Sierra Pazinski. I may have practiced. Sierra is a resource room teacher at Highland Elementary and Spring Mills Elementary. Sierra is in her 7th year of teaching and first year at Huron Valley. David Riga. David is a music teacher at Highland Elementary, and this is his first year in teaching. Ethan Wolf. Ethan is a Spanish teacher at Milford High School. Ethan is in his first year of teaching as well. Kim Shank. Kim is a digital tech teacher at White Lake Middle School and an engineering and digital multimedia teacher at Lakeland High School. She has been teaching for 13 years. Dana Malmquist. Dana is a school social worker at Lakewood Elementary, and this is her first year in schools. Heather Sims. Heather is a school counselor right here at Lakeland High School, and this is her first year. Shauna James. Shauna is a science teacher and chemistry and biology at Lakeland High School. This is her 13th year teaching, but again, first year in Huron Valley. Veronica Casano. Veronica is an art teacher at Highland and Apollo. This is her first year as a teacher. Julia Schneider. Julia is a 4th grade teacher at Highland Elementary, and this is her first year as a teacher. Jacqueline Sadler. Jacqueline is a 2nd grade teacher at Oxbow Elementary, and she has 1 year of experience. Did we want to take a picture? Oh, okay, we're all set. So again, thank you to our teachers and our new teachers, and thank you for participating in our program.
All right. We got one more here, Dr. Salah. Kurtz.
I think we are now up to the school presentation. So this evening we have Kurtz Elementary School here with us. And I'd like to invite Mr. Chiswick to the microphone to introduce the many, many people he has with him.
Good evening. Oh. Yeah? Okay. Good evening. This is less about me and more about them. I just came up here really to introduce them and to tell you that they said, hey, isn't that the guy from the color run the other day? He looks a lot different. But yeah, that's Dr. Slah. He's the boss. With that being said, the kids have put together, this is our Unity Day group. We are recognizing National Bully Prevention Month this month, which is October, and I will not steal any more of their thunder. So let me get out of the way so that they can proceed.
My name is Sam from Kurtz Elementary School, and we are here to recognize National Bullying Prevention Month. Here are some reasons why: how to stop it, how to be kind, why emotions can affect how you act, and why some bullies bully. October is Anti-Bullying Month, and orange is the anti-bullying color. Don't be a bully, be a bucket filler. Bucket fillers are students who lift others up, not tear others down. Bullying is a serious thing that should never be done. You can really hurt somebody's feelings and make them cry. If you're rude, they can be really upset. Being mean is not necessary and can make people say mean things about you. People can think you're a bad person, gossip about you, or even do mean things back. You can get in trouble for doing something mean, and then you will be upset too. Bullying hurts everyone's feelings.
How to stop bullying. You can try the broken record technique. This means you can say no, 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 or stop, 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 stop. If you see somebody getting hurt or you're getting hurt, this is unlikely at Kurtz, then tell a teacher. Physical bullying is terrible. No bullying is allowed. Being a bully is unacceptable. You can also try to tell the bully how you feel. Some bullying is unintentional and accidental. Some people don't know they're being mean to you. How to be kind. Kindness acts are always nice to do. You can pay for somebody else's food, help somebody get groceries, help somebody cross the street, and so many more. Doing basic things to help others can make a big difference. You can make somebody really happy or really upset. You always need to know how to make people feel happy. Some people get mad but try to control your emotions. If you overreact, you can make people feel bad by yelling at them. But if you try your best, you can make more people happy and less people sad. The more kindness you spread, the more people will want to be your friend. Remember, being upset is okay, but being a bully is not.
How emotion can affect how you act. How you feel can definitely affect how you act. Most bullies are sad and take their anger out on other people by being rude. They think it will make them feel better about themselves, but it does not. Never works, never has, never will. They do not want to admit that they are upset, so they bully people. This is not okay. But this is true. If you are happy, you may act happy. If you're upset, you may act upset. But emotions give you no excuse to act like a bully. Why some bullies bully. Bullies are bucket tippers, but sometimes also bucket dippers. Somebody who tips your bucket is somebody who makes your bucket fall. A bucket dipper is somebody who dips into your bucket and steals the happiness from you. They think if they bully, they will feel better, but that's not how it works. But sadly, some bullies just bully for fun. It is rude to bully. Never bully if you're going through a hard time. Just don't bully at all. Always be as kind as possible. Have an amazing day.
Unity Day is Wednesday, October 19th. Orange your orange in support of bullying prevention.
Thank you. What questions do you have for us?
Any board members have any questions or comments? Ms. Pastana.
Well, I don't have any questions, but comments. You guys did a great job. I really appreciate it. We could all use a little bit more kindness in the world, and I appreciate you saying it. I'm sure great things are happening over at Kurt's because of it.
Ms. Forrest?
You ditto that. You guys did a great job. So how does this roll out in your school? Do you have presentations, or, do you are you role models for your fellow classmates? How do you spread the kindness and the goodness?
We made posters, and and we had this slide presentation.
Thank you.
And my mom is a social worker here, going around in the classrooms and talking about it.
There's a role model right there for everybody.
Oh, that's good. Any other questions?
And a big thanks to the PTA for purchasing these great shirts for us.
Yes. Thank you very much. Excellent job. Nice job, Kurtz. Okay. We'll now move to item 2D, Superintendent Communication.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening to everybody who's here and those who are at home watching this via live stream. Thank you for joining us. I have a couple things this evening. First and foremost, I just wanted to give the board a quick update. I think most of our board members are aware of where we're at in terms of the strategic plan. From a community perspective, you've heard us talk a lot about the strategic plan for probably the better part of the last 6 months. At this point, our task force work that was largely organized by the Board of Education has really morphed into where we are in terms of thinking about the next 5 years, as a local school district. So just for our listening audience, there are 5 committees that make up the strategic plan. Strategic plan includes representatives from our parent community, our teaching staff, our administrators, central office. It makes up about 75 people. There are a number of folks involved in this strategic planning work. There are 5 committees. One is innovative programming. A second is resources and infrastructure. Third is marketing and communications. A fourth is social emotional supports. And a fifth is safety and security as a focus for us as a school district. We expect that the committees will largely wrap up their objective statements and action steps for the board to consider. Hopefully, you'll have some data and some information to react to sometime in mid-November. And then we would ask if the board has any questions, get some clarifying questions from the Board of Education. We would present the final draft to the entire strategic planning committee. And then we would bring this back and ask the board to take action at some point in December. As we communicated in board notes, the executive committee recommended that we add December 5th as an additional board meeting for the community here at LHS, 6 o'clock. So we have a meeting already scheduled. I think it's the 11th or 12th. We added a meeting the week before. So if you have not marked that in your calendars, please do so. I expect that hopefully we will be able to take action on that strategic plan moving forward. So my other item this evening, Mr. President, is something that I was contemplating whether or not I wanted to discuss. And after giving it some thought and, seeing so many new teachers here this evening and kind of reflecting on some of the feedback I've heard over the last several weeks, I feel as superintendent, it's my responsibility to communicate with our community and for our teachers and our administrators, frankly, to hear me say that I'm incredibly proud of the work that our teachers do every single day in this school district. I'm incredibly proud of the work that our administrators do every single day in this school district. And when I see things out there in the social media sphere, which I really try not to look at, to be honest with you, with things sort of, broad brush stroke statements like only 42% of our kids are proficient readers. I have a really hard time sitting back and just not saying anything because our staff are asking me, do they not understand like what we do? Do they not understand that that's one test given one day? It's a snapshot in time. Do they not understand that there are all these other measures that we look at and that those assessment scores are they're cut scores established by the state of Michigan and aren't necessarily a representation of the way with which our students are performing? And the answer to those who are asking me those questions is no, not everybody understands that. And sometimes it's easier to grab onto a headline or something that you see out there and represent it as fact when there's so much more to the story that needs to be told. And so I'm going to take a minute here and I'm going to tell a little bit more to this story because I think it's important. And I think it's important that while, as superintendent of Huron Valley Schools, I'm the first one to say, can we do better? Of course we can do better. We can always do better. There's always room for opportunity. There's always room for growth. There's always the latest study. There's always the latest book and the research that we need to read, that we need to understand, that we need to digest, and that we need to integrate within everything we learn throughout our College of Ed courses, as well as what we've learned through professional learning. But there's more to the story than even that. And so I just want to take a few minutes here and touch on that. In 2015, there was actually a transition from what we call the Meep Test. How many of you remember the Meep Test? I remember taking the Meep Test. I used to actually make designs. I remember sort of making designs on the test when I was a younger youth. The Meep Test transitioned to the M-Step in 2015. And what I think is interesting about this is I'm going to read actually from the third grade reading work group report from Governor Rick Schneider, June 3rd, 2015. The scope of the problem. Currently, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, 69% of Michigan students are not proficient in reading at the beginning of fourth grade. This deficit represents a troubling future for our students and for Michigan. The reason why I think that's interesting is because you hear sort of the same language today, about the number of students that aren't proficient. The same report says, until recently, many Michigan residents were not fully aware of the scope and the severity of Michigan's quote-unquote literacy problem. In fact, Michigan standards suggest 70% of our students are achieving third grade reading proficiency. Now hear me for a second here. So in 2015, 70% of students were proficient on the state assessment. In 2016, 40% of students were proficient on the M-Step assessment. Both state assessments. Overnight, there was a change in the cut scores and the name of the assessment. And now all of a sudden, we have a crisis without fully recognizing and understanding that there's a continuum when you think about assessment practices. There are formative assessments, there are benchmark assessments, there are screeners, there are national assessments utilized to measure the way with which we perform against many other students. And by all means, we perform well on the vast, vast majority of every single one of those assessments. In fact, even when you look at the state assessment, we outperform the state in every single category, and we outperform the vast majority of Oakland County in 12 of 20 categories, or close to or above in 12 of 20 categories. Here's why I think this is interesting, because there are lots of ways to measure success. So some of you might be familiar with the third grade reading legislation that recently passed. I think it was 2018, roughly. I think that's right around the time frame. Does that sound right? So in 2018, the state of Michigan, or the legislature rather, said any student who's not proficient on the state assessment will need to be retained in the third grade. This created mass hysteria because we're 45%, 50% proficient as a state on the state assessment. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, what's interesting is the state has a different threshold for retention and defining proficiency than they do what gets reported in the media. and what gets reported in the newspaper. So we have roughly 550 third grade students in the Huron Valley schools. According to the quote unquote MSTEP 42% of our students as being proficient readers, we should see a lot of students retained in the third grade. Last year, or that number, based on last year's assessment, 13 total students were flagged for retention, 13 out of 550. Yet 60% were quote unquote not proficient on the state assessment. Do you see why this would be troubling? Do you see why we should take a minute before we put out things that maybe there's just a little bit more to the story that needs to be considered? Again, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that we can't improve. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do everything in our power to do everything we can on behalf of our students. But what I am saying is we shouldn't grossly exaggerate that there are great things happening in the school district. In fact, the same report that was published in 2015 says, research shows that students reach literacy by mastering the 5 building blocks: phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, and general content knowledge. Many of these programs also use the following foundation elements within a multi-tiered system of support to help their students master the building blocks and the support of long-term commitment to the effective reading of instruction. And the reason I read that to you is because that's like ABCs for us. I mean, we know what the literacy research says in terms of how you help students master proficiency. These things, any one of our elementary age teachers in a heartbeat could recite these things from their memory, plus way more, because there's a lot more research that has come out since 2015. But they mention a few things that I think are worth saying here. The frequent use of properly trained teachers and research-based screening and diagnostic instruments for each student, along with diagnostic-driven instruction and interventions. Check, we do that. At least 90 minutes of daily reading instruction and focused reading time for every K-3 student with the intervention system that allows struggling students to receive targeted literacy interventions. We make every single effort that we possibly can to target our interventions. And 4 years ago, we implemented a 90-minute consecutive uninterrupted literacy block at every one of our elementary schools. A passionate and engaged teacher who supports diagnostic measurements of each student's strengths and weaknesses and instruction and intervention targeted to each student's needs. Check, our teachers do that. Teachers with strong content knowledge, vocabulary, and thorough training in research-based diagnostic tools, instruction, and interventions. The teachers faithfully use these techniques to help their students succeed. I'm in our buildings a lot, and I will tell you, there isn't a time that I walk into a building where there isn't differentiated instruction, small group instruction, students on mats, students at the kidney table with the teachers that are working individually. We have paraeducators delivering supports through our win time and our Tier 2 MTSS supports. We have literacy specialists in every single one of our elementary schools. A lot of school districts do not have those best practices and those things in place. So I just think it's really important for me to highlight there's a lot of ways to measure success. One, in my mind, is only 13 students were flagged, and of the 13, they demonstrated mastery on other local assessments and national assessments, so we didn't have to retain a single third grader last year. Another is 97% of our Lakeland students graduate. That's an incredible feat. I don't think people understand how high of a graduation rate that is. At Milford, it's right around 97% as well. But Milford also serves a large special education population, so it's not quite there, but it's almost at 97%. At the IA West, 99.71% of our students graduate. So when I think about the millions and millions and millions of dollars that our students earn in scholarships, and we talk about measuring success, as superintendent, that's how I measure success. Those are just some of the few measures. And so last but not least, I'm going to leave you with this because I think it's an interesting thought to ponder. There's a researcher, his name's Dr. Nelson Malone, And this, when I heard this and read this dissertation for the first time, it kind of blew my mind. I was actually a doc student myself. He actually wrote a dissertation titled "The Relationship of Socioeconomic Factors and District Scores on the Michigan Education Assessment Program and Analysis." Dr. Malone took 3 factors. He took the free and reduced lunch, percentage of free and reduced lunch of students in a school district. He took the mean household income of a community, and he took the percent of families that were in single parent homes. He plugged those 3 factors into a regression analysis. The math is complicated, and I haven't seen it in a long time. It's been a long time since I've taken stats. He was able to predict within 1 to 2 percentage points how the students would perform on the assessment without ever knowing how students have performed historically or any other data. Those 3 things. And he was able to tell us what their percent proficiency would be in that school district. So when we talk about proficiency on a state assessment, and I have staff members, teachers, paraeducators, and principals asking me, don't they understand it's more than a headline? I feel obligated morally and ethically to share with our listening audience and our community, there's way more to this story that needs to be told. It's more than a tweet. It's more than a social media post. And I just feel like, I felt like that needed to be said this evening, Mr. President. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for those comments, and thank you for sharing it and your passion for our students. All right, moving along on the agenda here, we will now move to, I believe it's board president comments, so I'm just going to get started with that. So on September 12th, we were all here at the Board of Education meeting, and I talked about the importance of the upcoming election and how important this election is to our community from a public education standpoint. And I talked about making sure that each of our candidates and appreciating our candidates. We have 12 candidates that are running for school board. 10 of them are running for 6-year terms. That there's 3 6-year terms that are available that 10 are competing for. And then there's a special election that is a 2-year term, and we have 2 candidates that are competing for that election. I talked about the roles and responsibilities of board members and how important this institution is to a community. I would not only say the community, to the state, to this nation. A strong public education has given us the strong country that we live in today. As the board president, I felt it incumbent to make sure that we gave each of these candidates an opportunity from a candidate forum perspective to tell us why they were running, as well as sharing their beliefs and ideas for the school board. There was one previous candidate forum that was held, I think it was by the Milford Times or the Spinal Column. And so this was the second candidate forum. We taped that candidate forum in this room a week ago Monday, right, Fred? You were here. But we broke it down since there's so many candidates, and the Spinal Column did a great job. But what we did is we had 4 candidate forums, and the candidates were decided by their last name spelling of who was grouped with who. And we had candidates, forum 1, 2, and 3 were the candidates that were pursuing the 6-year terms. And then candidate forum 4 was the special election. We have 2 candidates competing for that. I'm happy to report all 10 of the 12 candidates accepted the invitation, and were able to come in here and share their thoughts and their ideas. I want to share with the board members just some of the questions that were asked, and moderating was not just myself, it was taped, it was not open to the public. I'll go over the schedule here shortly in regards to when that will be aired. Moderating with me was a former Board of Education member, Bonnie Brown, who is a resident of Milford and was a member of the school board. Also moderating for us were 3 students. we felt it is important to make sure that our student voices are being heard. And so Alexis Cornett from Milford, she's the student council president from Milford High School. She was one of the moderators on one of the forums. Maya Azado was from the IA West. And then also Everett Ross, who is the student council senior class president for Lakeland High School. We also extended an invitation for Harbor High as well, but that was not accepted. But we had those three students moderate with us, and there was an opening and a closing statement. And I'll just give the board a perspective. Of course, you can watch on HVS TV and see the questions for yourself, but after the opening statements, and we rotated, so the candidates that are sitting up here at the table can attest to that. Lindsay, I apologize to you because she had no break at all. The other candidate that's running for special election was not available, so Lindsay just got peppered with question after question. So, but she handled it like a champ. So we asked a question on the importance of the Board of Education being nonpartisan and not a partisan body. There's too much dysfunction in DC and Lansing, and we don't need to bring that dysfunction to this boardroom or to our schools. And we spoke about that and gave an opportunity for candidates to share their thoughts there. The HVS students came up with their own questions. They were not edited. They came up, I think, with 8 or 9 questions, and they were able to ask 5 of the questions. What do you believe the goal and mission of the school board is, was one of the questions that the students presented. Also, we had a question, school board members' roles and responsibilities and how they differ from the superintendent and administration. We also, one of the student questions were, how do you plan as a school board member to have productive communications with students and consider the perspectives of students from a wide range of demographics? Another question that was presented by Ms. Brown was, HVS has a $90 million plus annual budget. Do you support having a balanced budget? Yes or no? If elected, what would be your top 3 budget priorities? Another student question was, do you think one should have the ability to ban books in our school libraries? Another question that came from myself was, equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. And we asked the candidates to ask us what lens that they view public education from. We also asked, parents play a critical role in their students' education and success. What role do you see parents playing? If on the board, how might the board engage parents in this district? We also asked in response to recent gun violence in our school buildings in the county as well as nationally, HVS provides and coordinates with local law enforcement and a professional security company in each of our school buildings. Do you support this action by the school district? What other measures or steps would you advocate for? An HVS student question was, how do you see equity working in our schools? Another question that we had that I presented was, social emotional learning is an integral part of education and human development. And we talked about the importance of SEL and whether they believed that SEL is critical for our Huron Valley School classrooms. HVS student asked, how can we ensure we are keeping and supporting Huron Valley's best teachers? And then we had closing statements. So those were the questions that were presented. Very proud of these students for coming forward and being engaged in the process, and they did very well. I also wanted to share that the school board candidate forums, of which there were 4, they will be every day this week, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., and 7 p.m. And then they will rotate so that there's an equal opportunity. So if you happen to be tuning in at 10 a.m. The next day, then you'll see candidate forum 2. The following day, you'll see candidate forum 3. You'll see all of them, but we'll rotate to make sure that we give an equal opportunity for each of those in the candidate forums. I think it's important also to report out that there was some questions from some community members that came, in particular, a parents advocate group that's organized by Miss Mathiak, who was asking some questions. Now, I had only communicated to the candidates at that time. I felt it was inappropriate to be responding to any other folks that were asking questions and asking for what the questions were going to be. So I'm reporting out to the board that I will respond to those emails now. It is not our form at this board to wait to answer emails, but I felt it was appropriate for the taping to take place and for my report out to take place first before I communicated back to the community members, in fairness to all the candidates. I just wanted to do a report out on that, and the community will have the opportunity. Felt it was important for the community to see the candidates and the responses. So, thank you. Mr. Weissman.
Yes. Normally, we don't make comments after the superintendent or after the board president makes comments, but I think I'm going to take the liberty, if it's all right with you, Mr. President, to make a couple comments based on what took place under your leadership. First of all, for myself, and I believe for the rest of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to form this committee, the forum, to organize it, and the board candidates taking the time, because it's so important for our community to be well informed as it relates to this. Dr. Salah just talked about the strategic plan that will really set the tone for the next 5 years for us. And members that will be elected by our community will be on the board, the majority of them, for a period that extends past those 5 years. And in fact, they'll be generating another strategic plan during their term, if you think about it in that way. I also want to thank Bonnie Brown for being a representative of our community. I think it's extraordinarily important. A well-informed community is one that becomes very extremely supportive of public education and the good things that we do in Huron Valley. At the same time, our parents and board candidates absolutely need to be involved, just like Dr. Salah talked about different measures as it relates to success. Our Board of Education brings a wide array of viewpoints, where they're coming from. But one thing that we believe in as a highly effective functioning board is transparency and openness. And there's never been a time during my tenure on the board that there's ever been a question about the end results that we're all looking for as it relates to our students and our educational community. More importantly, I think reflecting on what you just said too, Sean, was the involvement of our student leadership. We're in the business of providing outstanding opportunities for our students. And it would be a mistake on our part if we didn't have that and you did not include our students, because they're the end users. They're the ones that every day come in our doors, and we work with them one student at a time to provide those opportunities and for those for student success. And I'm so impressed with our community as it relates to how supportive they are, as it relates to the work of our teachers and our support staff and our administrators, as we do the very best that we can do. So I applaud that. As I said, a well-informed community is a highly functioning community, one that really focuses on the goals and the achievements of our students and embraces that. When we have 8,000 students come through our doors every day, we provide a variety of opportunities for them. I just really respect and appreciate myself and for the rest of the board for you to do what you did on our behalf to provide an additional opportunity for our Board of Education candidates to have an additional opportunity to let our community know what they stand for and how they will make this school district even better than it is today. And the more opportunities that our community has to be informed as it relates to our Board of Education candidates and what they believe in, the stronger we'll become. So once again, on behalf of the board, I really appreciate this. I think it's another example of the transparency that this Board of Education has embraced, the willingness of our Board of Education to meet our parents through our various forums and our various task force, and our true belief that collaboration is of the utmost importance. And I just really want to say thank you for doing this, because I know that it's going to be must-see TV, and I hope it is must-see TV, because as it relates to this Board of Education and the people that are going to be sitting up here, because a highly functioning board creates an environment for our administration and our staff to be highly functioning also. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Weissman. And I want to thank Barb. She was there for each of the candidate forums as well as Fred, who's behind the camera. And he had those sharp looking glasses on last week too. All right. We will move to student leadership. All right.
Do we have student leadership this evening? No?
Okay. And they certainly demonstrated their leadership last week. So, association communication. Oh, here it is.
Good evening. This is one of my favorite school board meetings of the year. I love to celebrate our new educators. This year we have 23 new educators, and they come to us from a wide range of experiences. Some have been educators in other districts for many years, and others just graduated from college a few short months ago. Our new educators are classroom teachers in our elementary, middle, and high school buildings. In addition, many are special education teachers, a counselor, art, PE, and music teachers, speech and language pathologists, and social workers. We grow stronger as an HVS community when we learn from our new educators. We welcome their fresh ideas, enthusiasm, and they are savoring those first few moments in schools. For our veteran educators, we benefit from their previous experience, and they have so much to share when collaborating with their peers. In addition, like our many current educators, some of our new educators live within Huron Valley and make a choice to apply to Huron Valley schools to teach and work in the same community where they live. Shauna James, Lakeland science teacher, and Veronica Cassanow, Highland art teacher, both live within our school boundaries, and they want to work within our community. Ms. Cassanow says, quote, "I have seen firsthand how dedicated the staff is to serving all art students and to each other." A few of our new educators came into their positions after being paraprofessionals, guest teachers, or student teachers in our district. Zach Taskey, Kurt's fourth grade teacher, shared that he wanted to work in the Valley because of the compassion and professionalism he experienced from our HVS staff during his time as a guest teacher in our district. Of course, spending time with their students is the best part of their day. Even after a few short weeks of school, favorite memories have already formed. Our educators fondly recall students' faces lighting up when engaged in creative activities and positive interactions. Collecting pond water for science lab, making applesauce for Johnny Appleseed's birthday, hearing about their art creations, and students loving music class so much that they want to come twice a week are just a few of the highlights. However, what stuck out to me when hearing from our new educators was the common thread of community and collaboration. In just 6 short weeks, they have developed strong ties with their colleagues and are engaged in brainstorming to discover solutions to the roadblocks that they encounter. This collaboration occurs organically throughout the week, during our professional learning time, and even at lunch. Lakewood's new music teacher, Stephanie Detbarn, shared that Lakewood's teachers planned a salad in a jar day, where they all brought in a few ingredients and left with 6 salad jars filled with healthy ingredients, and they were set for lunch for the week. Now that's collaboration. Dana DeRiker, speech and language pathologist, sums up the feeling of connection by saying that Huron Valley Schools is a large community that cares deeply for each other. Our new educators have already learned that by working together, and supporting one another, we are stronger together. So to our new educators, we are definitely here to help, but we're also here to learn from you. Thank you for choosing the Valley to be your home. We are grateful that you are here, and we're looking forward to so many more years of supporting each other, our students, and the families of Huron Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Board correspondence, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mr. Carlson, we received correspondence on 9/16/22 from the League of Women Voters addressed to you. Dear Mr. Carlson, League of Women Voters Oakland area is a nonpartisan organization whose purpose is to promote informed, active participation of citizens in government. We are initiating an observer corps of League members who regularly attend and report on meetings of school boards and committees with the purpose of keeping the public informed. League observers do not participate in the meetings they attend. They do not ask for time on the agenda, nor do they address during meetings the issues being discussed. They sometimes ask questions for clarification. League observers wear identifying badges. We hope to educate our members and demonstrate our support of good government. This letter is to introduce you to Lisa Cooney and Missy Salfon, who will be observing the Board of Education meetings regularly. Thank you for your attention. Sincerely, Maria Wollison.
Are either of those individuals here? Okay. Oh, great. Welcome.
Welcome.
At first, when she said League of Women Voters, I thought, uh-oh, they're getting mad at me. I'm honing in on candidate forums. So I'm glad it was not. So, all right. Thank you. Any other correspondence?
That's it.
Okay. Treasurer's report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This summer, the state of Michigan passed its largest school aid fund budget, providing Huron Valley schools with an additional $450 per student increase in per pupil funding, generating a total of $9,150 per student for the 22-23 school year. Included in this funding were some new competitive grants to specifically address school safety, student mental health, and learning loss. I have asked Jeffrey to briefly highlight a couple of the potential sources of revenue for Huron Valley in this evening's Treasurer's Report. Jeffrey?
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. So again, I'll be brief here. We have two separate things that we're going to highlight. First is some of the new grant summary. Again, Public Act of 144, which was attached to the school aid budget for the current year, provided the districts and ISDs over 100 new grant programs. Student mental health and school safety were the big winners in fund allocation. Those are $109 per pupil. And it kind of is interesting because as we've had our HVS task force and as we're working on our strategic planning, two of the things that are really big focal points for us from the task force as well as the strategic plan is mental health and school safety. So it's nice to see that as our legislatures are coming up with funding sources, they're really aligning with what this district has already set up for the next couple of years. So very appreciative of that. We will benefit from a number of these programs, and our initial impact based on review of Public Act 144 is a little over $2 million. First piece, Section 31AA, student mental health. It's provided for districts to carry out activities to improve student mental health, and that's awarded to us at $109 per pupil. The impact to Huron Valley schools is approximately $855,000. Allowable expenses in this bucket includes student support, staff hiring or contracting, mental health screening. Those are not only basically the tools that we're able to use for mental health screening. Mental health personnel, which is obviously a big focal point because, in our opinion, we can never have enough good people in here supporting our students. And what I like about these two particular ones that are large buckets is any other mental health service or product deemed necessary, which gives the district some autonomy in how we best utilize these dollars for our students. Section 97, improving student safety, again at $109 per pupil, which will benefit the district to the tune of about $855,000. Allowable expenses include any coordination with local law enforcement for student safety activities, school staff training, safety infrastructure, and then again, my favorite piece, any other school safety service or product necessary, which again gives the district a lot of autonomy in how we best utilize these dollars for Huron Valley schools. Safety and security assessments, 97C. It's provided for districts and non-public schools to improve school safety at an allocation of $2,000 per building. And so we've already applied for these. The application is actually due here coming up on Thursday, but we're ahead in it and we're already applied for the initial opt-in to receive these funds. And so districts need to contract with a vendor equipped to handle safety and security assessments. We were fortunate that we were able to work with Recon Management in the 21-22 school year. And then we were going to plan on doing, as a part of our plan, a follow-up 1 year into the look to see how we are doing after they gave us an initial assessment. And so this funding will allow us to cover all of last year's expenditures and a good portion of this year's 1 year assessment. Critical incident mapping. This is going to provide districts, ISDs, non-public schools, funds to improve school safety through a very specific piece, which is critical mapping. And so, when I took a first look at this, I wasn't even sure what they meant. So for everybody in the viewing audience, critical incident mapping uses satellite imaging to create a real-life depiction of a building and surrounding areas with labels for importance. It helps first responders and is shared with local 911 operators on a quarterly basis. So basically, they can use a drone and/or satellite imaging to create a real depiction of our building, keying on surrounding areas, labels for importance, such as like a gymnasium or a cafeteria or a main office that will allow our first responders to move even quicker than they already would to a site should there be an incident taking place at one of our schools. We actually had a vendor who was interested. Funny enough, as we get some of this funding, the vendors come up in drones and are all very interested in wanting to work with Huron Valley schools and any other school that got the new funding. So I've been pretty popular the last couple of weeks with emails on what you can do for Huron Valley schools, and that's wonderful. I did actually follow up with a vendor because the state of Michigan wanted to know what this would approximately cost, and about $135,000 seems like the right line for 97D. So there's just a couple of the pieces. I do have another brief slide that Rose is going to pull up for me, and then I'll take any questions here in just 2 seconds. So, Rose. One of the last pieces here, again, that's important, and the district wants to take advantage of the dollars provided to us. I want to thank Jennifer Bjorkman for putting this together. This is really a TLT piece, but speaks to the grants and the additional funding that the state of Michigan is allowing us. 98C is going to be kind of an offshoot or the sister funding to ESSER 2. And so the state of Michigan still has some dollars remaining. And with those dollars, they are providing school districts an allocation of money to utilize to assist in learning loss. And so, thinking about some of the things we've already done with our addressing learning loss and going into this next school year, TLT worked hard to come up with some of these things that, we're going to consider using these additional dollars for. Right now, this would be about $288,000. It would be additional money for Huron Valley schools, but districts have a pretty strict timeline in which they have to meet deadlines. We are currently meeting those deadlines, and so the benefit to us could be greater than 288. That's the minimum funding we should be able to receive. So we're looking at being able to fund our summer academy again. So this would be year 3. We have found great success in helping our kids who need a little bit of additional help in the summertime. I can tell you personally that my niece has attended that the last several years, and it's been of great benefit for her to kind of catch up a little bit on some of that lost time during COVID. Small group intervention, credit recovery courses, before and after school programming, social emotional supports, expanded small group intervention, even additional credit recovery at the high school level, additional skills for success at the middle school, before and after school supports. And so, we're really fortunate that we have a very good team here that can handle some of this additional dollars, and our team of supports in the building that will be able to utilize this funding. And then how we're going to measure impact is, again, up here. I don't want to repeat every single word that's up here, but basically seeing kids finish courses, getting their grades in those courses, using our specialists as we have for progress for those students that needed a little bit of additional support, including intervention support, And then obviously the benchmark assessments that we've been continuing to provide for Huron Valley schools. We will be following up with the TLT committee as well as finance and operations as we review this and revise it, because we do have time between now and when we would actually have to put an application in with the state of Michigan. We just needed to make sure that we were having this presentation with you before the end of October. I think a lot of districts are going to miss the boat on that because obviously everybody gets busy and just doesn't put the time into making sure we're accounting for all of these dollars available. And so we'll continue to share this with the Board of Education. We'll probably do something here in the next 3 or 4 months as we hit the mid-year mark of school. And then again at the end of the year to talk about how we have best utilized this 98.7C for our students in Huron Valley.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if there's any follow-up questions that we take those during the Finance and Operations Committee time. Is there anything else on the Treasurer's report, Mr. Weissman?
No.
Okay, thank you. What I am going to ask, if there are no objections from the board, we have some teachers here this evening that would like to speak. And I know that they get up early in the morning. I would love to give them the opportunity. So if there's no objections, I would like to move public comment section 3 up in front of reports from board committee. Hearing no objections, I'm going to go ahead and move forward with that. But I do want to ask Ms. Hill, are there any other public comments? Okay, so the way that we handle public comment now is anything that's germane or on the agenda gets addressed in the first public comment, and then anything that's not on the agenda gets handled in the second public comment. But seeing that there are no other items in regards to agenda items, I would like to afford the opportunity for our IA teachers to go ahead. So I'm going to call up Laura Jones first, and then Bridget, and then you'll be next.
Okay, good evening. My name is Lauren Jones, and I'm a world language teacher at International Academy West. Tonight, I'd like to share with the board how world language works in the International Baccalaureate program. The International Baccalaureate program is, just as the name implies, truly international. I have been so incredibly privileged to work in a school where my class, which is an elective basically everywhere else, is a core class. All of our students take 4 years of language and an additional year of language and culture. This is 3 years longer than the state requires, which basically doubles their fluency. All of our students have an opportunity to earn college credit in language through that International Baccalaureate exam at the end of their senior year. And our students also have incredible travel opportunities, including host family stays. Not only do our students have these opportunities, but our language teachers work tirelessly to get them to this level of fluency that allows them to compete on a global level. As a young teacher, I am so glad to have spent my career so far in a school that respects what I do. World language is essential for the 21st century, and I am delighted to be able to offer these experiences to Huron Valley students and out-of-district students who come here for the extraordinary education offered by the IA. And I will add that Dr. Nelson Malone was actually my assessment professor at Eastern. So I know that it's not all about those big assessments that they take. And I'm so grateful to have students for essentially 5 years that we get to just share language together. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. After Bridget would be Tara Johnson.
Hello, I'm Bridget Piagentini, and I'm a counselor at the International Academy and a proud HVS employee. I would like to share some information about the International Academy Vocal Arts from the perspective of Dr. Jeffrey Nelson, who is one of our HVS and IA music teachers. The IA West Choir program aims to provide high-quality musical experiences for students to grow their knowledge for the art form, their skills, and appreciation for the value of music and the arts. The choir program at IA West provides all the same elements of vocal music programs at standard high schools, including concerts, festivals, field trips, outside of school rehearsals, and extracurricular ensembles. At the same time, the choirs at IA West also include the additional elements mandated by the IB, including experiences in composing, writing, and working with music technology. IB experiences in vocal music are particularly well-rounded and develop young musicians who are passionate about music and can articulate the importance of the arts in society. Additionally, I would like to share some information about the IA Instrumental Arts from the perspective of our Director of Bands, Bob Green. The bands at the IA offer a unique program for students at IA West. The ability to perform in an ensemble with students who come from multiple school districts offers a unique challenge and advantage for the students who come from multiple school districts. They offer a unique challenge and advantage to the ensemble. Students from 12 to 15 different middle schools make up the enrollment of the band at IA West, providing us the ability to challenge the students at a level that they may not have had otherwise. As we can build on the large number of experiences and programs they come from as middle school students. In addition, band is often a first-year experience for many, as the IA program supports electives for all their incoming 9th grade students who enroll in either band, art, or choir. This affords students who did not have band in middle school an opportunity to try something new and different. Performing arts students in band and choir are also able to continue on in their junior and senior year in the DP music courses, pushing their knowledge and challenging themselves as musicians to grow at an even more advanced level. Finally, one element that is absolutely unique to our West Campus is the ability for the IA students to participate along with the Huron Valley students in our performing ensembles, including our jazz band, wind ensemble, and nationally recognized Huron Valley Marching Band. In addition, students are able to participate in our world-class Winter Drumline and Winter Guard programs. IA West is a truly unique program for performing arts. Thank you.
Thank you. After Ms. Johnson will be Ian Jones.
Thank you for sharing, and I'm going to complete the arts. We have another portion of the arts, the visual arts. I'm Tara Johnson, and I'm a proud Huron Valley teacher. Been teaching here 28 years, and the last 8 I've gotten to do the blended position between Huron Valley and the IA. All 3 of us in the fine arts that we just spoke of with Dr. Jeff Nelson and Director Bob Green, we've all had to balance the combined programs of Milford, Lakeland, and the IA amidst various schedules. Block at one school, and standard at the other on the same day in the same building. We also have different teaching and different grading platforms. While I report, or while this was reported earlier by Bridget Pagentini, thank you for sharing that on behalf of them. I also have the privilege of getting to cover these programs. Part of the arts, I get to do photography to be able to cover these. And what I have found is not so much what happens on stage and on the field, but the type of character that is developed in these students when they are not performing, the bonds that they have and the programs that they've developed. It's been wonderful to see. Personally, I've been able to have the opportunity as a visual art teacher to teach at Miriam, Milford, and Lakeland High School. And I've had up to 20 preps in a day because there were so many chances for students to have the classes, but they didn't all happen when they needed them. So we would oftentimes blend those classes. And on top of that, I used to coach back-to-back varsity programs, winter and spring, and then took on leadership and took on yearbook. And next thing you know, I got this position at the IA. And teaching art, I abandoned pretty much all of that because this is a much more intensive program. And I found, I think it was mentioned earlier, that instead of this just being an elective, as world languages, it is now a core class. And our freshmen and sophomores come in as exploratory, and they're able to actually try it out as an elective. But once they lock in, they have pretty much decided to make this part of their basically college prep programming. So as I start to look through, we found that our students that actually are in the DP art program, if they score even a 4 out of 7, which is a little different than the AP program, they not only pass the course, but they gain 8 to 18 college credits at the end of their senior year. So it's a pretty big deal to be a part of this awesome opportunity that we offer for students. 10 years ago, or actually it was 2010, I was able to actually implement AP art and design. And that was a great opportunity to bring the opportunity for students to get college credit. But each of those courses, we offered 2D, 3D, and drawing. They only allowed for 3 college credits. So the fact that we have this awesome opportunity now to offer so much more is a great resource for our students. Unfortunately, 2020, that AP art program has come to a close. So now it is just an elective. So I love that we still have a chance to give our kids an opportunity for earning that college credit. In addition, the NAHS and our art club here at the International Academy West, we go a step beyond the academics and we focus on local school and community-oriented projects, as well as international and global projects. This includes visiting local elementary and middle schools, elderly care facilities, and in these instances, the value of art is irreplaceable in the scope of community connections and communication. In addition to local contributions, we have done things internationally, and we have just been able to find that we are able to make give students the opportunities to value and to basically give their art back to their community throughout the world. Closing statement. While the academic side of the visual arts, we're not short-winded for sure. I know the academic and the service opportunities, but also just to go back, just to articulate that importance of art in society. Want to let you know that we really put in a lot of time outside what is even required to provide these opportunities for students. Thank you for letting us share.
Thank you.
Good evening, Huron Valley Schools Board of Education, Dr. Salah, community members, and my fellow colleagues. I speak tonight as a representative of the International Academy, specifically our IA West staff, located in this building. We affectionately call ourselves West. I have been a biology teacher for the last 12 years, and I'm keenly aware that people in the Huron Valley school community, all stakeholders included, aren't always aware of how we fit in amongst all of the schools in our district. I would like to give you a little history on IA West. We have been part of HVS for the last 16 years, establishing in 2006 and our first graduating class in 2010. Working mostly out of the lower level of Lakeland High School, students participate in the world-recognized International Baccalaureate Program, middle years program for the 9th and 10th graders, and onto the rigorous diploma program for 11th and 12th graders. The latter being similar to taking 12 advanced placement courses over the course of 2 years. Students are challenged to demonstrate critical thinking skills while addressing their content in familiar and unfamiliar ways. Students are asked to be risk takers, which they are already by virtue of enrolling in our program, yet remain caring and willing to listen and consider a range of perspectives on any topic. Our students work to be well-informed and balanced in their high school lives, as many participate in HVS sports, hot robotics, our theater productions, and our IA West school-based clubs. Huron Valley has graciously opened enrollment to students outside of the district to opt in and be a part of this special program. Any middle school HVS student has a chance to attend IA West as a freshman. In fact, well over 50% of our students and their families live within the district. Recently, a ranking placed International Academy at the top of all public high schools in Michigan. Even with the expansion from Bloomfield Hills to White Lake, Troy, students have skyrocketed above state and national averages. Our SAT scores are the highest in the state. Yes, our students, HVS students, are consistently averaging far above the national average of 1050. Our average is 1300. I recently polled IA West alumni and received over 130 responses. Our former students have attended every kind of school, obtaining bachelor's, master's, PhD, JD, DO, MD degrees. Seeing all these things from former HVS students fills me with such pride. We can confidently say that we are preparing students to tackle an uncertain world with all the tools necessary to make it their own and to be successful. Finally, I would like to congratulate my fellow IA West staff members, mostly HVS employees, for meeting the challenges of being a high school teacher and persevering even when it has felt harder and harder. Valuing teachers is valuing students. Thank you.
Thank you. And Miss Anderson.
Hello, My name is Kathy Anderson, and I've been a Huron Valley employee for 31 years. I've been at the International Academy for the last 5 years. Tonight, I want to share the incredible accomplishments of the class of 2022 in mathematics. And I'll try not to overwhelm you with numbers. Luckily, I'm pretty good at making numbers easy. To begin with, our students, there are 3 levels of mathematics our students take their IB exams in. There is our SL analysis, which is almost comparable to your AP calculus. We have our SL applications, which is kind of comparable to AP statistics. And we have our HL analysis, which is high level math. It's advanced math topics that goes beyond our normal high school curriculum. All IB exams are scored on a scale from 1 to 7. The curve is set by international performance, and our students are judged against the entire world of IB diploma candidates. Approximately 64% of our standard level analysis students scored a 5 or higher for the 2022 year. Approximately 73% of our standard level application students scored a 5 or higher. Over 85% of our high level students scored a 5 or higher. Those are some impressive statistics in a normal year. Remember, this class was coming off the sophomore year of COVID and virtual learning, okay? So the mathematics IB exam was the only subject area at all that didn't have any like accommodations, because mathematics, we don't know what order you're going to teach it in. And so they made no accommodations whatsoever, and this is the way our students scored. I'm extremely proud of my students, and I can honestly say I was blown over when actually 4 of my SL students got a 7 on the exam. Our students are excelling. We're working hard to do that. We're just looking for some support. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hill, are there any other public comments for this evening? Seeing no other public comments, public comment is now closed. And we will move to reports from the board committee. And I would ask each committee chair, thank you. I would ask each of the committee chairs to try to be as brief as possible with your committee reports, given the number of agenda items we have, as well as a closed session as well. So executive committee met on October 10th at 9 a.m. Present were myself, Mr. Weissman, Ms. Forrest, Dr. Salah, Jeffrey Van Gotham, Jeanette Wegner, and Lori Hill. No public comment. We talked about safety and security, emergency operating procedures, run, hide, fight training, night lock, mechanisms that have been installed at Harbor High School and are making their way throughout the secondary schools, go bags, which have been completed and distributed to all classrooms. Go bags are an emergency measure designed to be taken or utilized in the midst of a crisis type situation. We also had conversations about the ball fields. You hear more from Tom, but hopefully not too much more. And then interior environments, and then strategic planning meeting debrief from Dr. Salah. And then we discussed the October 17th meeting schedule, board policy 4000 series, and then we adjourned at 12 o'clock, 12:18. We'll move to TLT.
How am I going to beat that? TLT met on October 11th. Meeting called to order at 3:05. Present were myself, Ms. Dodd, Ms. Forrest, Mr. Vernier, Dr. Salah, Mr. Lindberg, Mrs. Bjorkman, Ms. Nemeth, Ms. Thompson, Mr. Wisnick, Mr. Miller, and then our 3 student leaders, Alexis, Maya, and Everett. There was no public comment. We discussed student leadership. They gave us some insight into what they might be interested in. We talked about men's volleyball. Mr. Miller shared that several districts across Michigan within the LVC are starting men's volleyball teams. So they're planning to offer this as a club sport in the spring. We talked about Board Policy 2000 series, Board Policy 7000 series. Other, under consent agenda items, the uninterruptible power supply purchase. I don't know how to make this shorter. The district's purchasing consultant has recommended that we get one. And we received a quote for the equipment. Next, droplet purchase. During the 21-22 school year, we began researching software solutions for increasing efficiencies across the organization. The committee supported moving this to consent agenda for tonight. Future agenda items, Ms. Forrest requested an update at our future meeting on the elementary progress report card and AAA outcomes. Next meeting, November 4th meeting was moved to October 28th, 9:30, adjourned at 4:34.
All right, nice job. Finance and operations.
Well, since exec and TLT reports were so short, I can spend a little bit more time on mine. Our Finance and Operations Committee met on Wednesday, October 12th at 9 a.m. I want to make it a note that we did not adjourn until 12:40, so that's 3 hours and 40 minutes. So you're asking me to condense my minutes? All right. Present were myself, along with Lindsay Cotter, Amy Grzynkowski, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gothen, Mr. Reby, and Ms. Maruskin, in representatives of TMT and Clark Construction, along with Thermonetics. We had no public comments. We reviewed the minutes. Regular agenda, we have one item under consent, which was the approval of the SALT. Board Policy 7000 is under new business. I'm not going to go into any details as it relates to board policies. Asbestos abatement, because they're under new business, along with Elite Detective K9. We had a long conversation about that. Interior environments and Touchpad athletic equipment purchases are all under new business tonight that we'll have an opportunity to talk. I'll pass on going into greater detail as it relates to the ball field upgrades, because that's also under new business for tonight. Others, Bid Pack 5, we've received an update from our bond issue team as it relates to the projects, along with where we are with Bid Pack 8 and future plans. Clean bus program was discussed, along with further discussion items regarding the replacement of the Lakeland High School boiler. And our next meeting will be on November 2nd, 2022. Thank you very much.
Excellent job.
I thought so.
All right.
All right. Our last marketing communication committee was called to order at 3:40 on, I don't know, someday, October 4th, 2022. Present were myself, Denise Pastana, Lindsay Cotter, Barb, Paul, Kim, and Christina Stafford. We did not have public comment. On our regular agenda, we talked about COVID communications, just making sure we're crystal clear with every staff member about how they communicate with families about COVID communication and protocol when COVID is possible or present. We also discussed go bags. We've already heard about that. We had an EOB update, which is the emergency operations procedures, and that each school now has a printed and a digital copy in the central office, along with a copy in the buildings in case they can't access technology during emergency. So that's a good thing. School safety, we discussed run, hide, fight training, and that we expect that to be completed by the end of November. Also discussed night locks and vest wearing at schools in the morning. To make schools in the morning and the afternoon to make sure we know who the safe folks are at the school. We also discussed social media. HVS social media was discussed. We discussed expanding HVS TV, which we are doing right now with our board, whatever they're called. Yeah. Discussions, several other communication strategies, like HVS success stories, in the loop with the soup, and other possible ideas. We thought maybe hoops with the soup would be fun, and some other fun ideas. So we discussed some of those. We also talked about board policies 7000 and 9000 series. Committee members reviewed changes and shared possible revisions. I believe that's on the agenda this evening. We have no consent agenda items. Our next meeting's November 1st at 3:30. We adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
All right, great. Thank you all for those quick and efficient reports. All right, we will now move to consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items, Exhibit A1 through A5?
I'll move to approve consent agenda items A through E.
A through E?
Right?
Yes. Is there support?
I support.
Ms. Grisomkowski supports. All right, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
All right, Ms. Forrest,
Yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Myself, I'm a yes. Ms. Dodd
Yes.
and Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
All right.
Motion passes as sufficient voting in the affirmative. All right, we'll now move to unfinished business, Section 5, approval of Board Policy 3000 series.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this evening, we are asking under unfinished business for board approval of the entire 3000 series. This particular series has gone before the Executive Committee on August 29th and October 10th. These policies have been presented to the whole board on September 12th. There were two specific questions that were discussed regarding the 3000 series. One is policy 3217, which we discussed at the last board meeting, which dealt with weapons. And most recently, 3111, which is in your board packet. There were some changes there as well, and that was reported in board notes. And that's related to creating a position. And so with that, we are asking for the board's approval of the 3000 series.
On this board policy approval, Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I move the Board of Education approve the Board Policy 3000 series as presented.
And seconded by Ms. Forrest. Are there any other questions or comments for Dr. Salah on the 3000 series? Mr. Weissman.
Yes, tonight we have unfinished business for Policy 3000 and also 9000. I just want to verify if these policies are approved as presented, they will be posted out on our website.
Yeah, so on our website, while we are transitioning from old policy to new policy, if you go to our website and you search Huron Valley Schools Board policies, it brings up our old policies, but at the very top, there's a hyperlink that says updated policies. So as the board has adopted the various series of policies, we immediately send a communication to Neola, and then they populate that new set of policies that the board has adopted on that updated site. So essentially, when the new policies are adopted, the old ones become null, and we begin operating from the new ones during this transition period.
I would recommend that any new policies that we're adopting, that we pull down, if possible, the old policies so it doesn't create confusion in the district. Somebody could pick up and quote an old policy versus the new policy. So I think that's okay to leave it where Neola is until it's all in place. But for instance, if 9000 or 000, for instance, is replacing our old 9000, then we should pull down 9000.
Yeah, that makes sense. And certainly in some instances, it's really easy to do that. Like the student code of conduct, that would be an easy one that we could pull from the old.
Yeah.
But in some instances, there are some policies that speak to one thing and another, but it's not in both of the new policies. So we will do that where we can.
Okay.
Appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Cotter.
Yeah, I was trying to, I can't bring it up. But anyway, what's the other title for the 3000 series?
The other title?
I mean, in the overall.
Oh, yeah. You're talking the old policy or the new policy?
Either one.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I believe this is professional staff, and then the 4000, these are primarily human resources policies dealing with professional staff.
Okay.
And then the 4000s would be support staff, and then the 5000s would be dealing primarily with students.
Okay, I know where you're at.
Yeah, I had to pull that from way back deep
Okay.
to remember that.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move for a roll call vote for approval of Board Policy 3000 series.
Okay, Mr. Wiseman,
Yes.
Ms. Forrest,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Ms. Grismkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes, sufficient voting in the affirmative. We will now move to item 5B, approval of Board Policy 9000 series. Can we get the general label on the 9000 series?
Sure. 9,000 series is public relations. It's the public relations series.
Okay,
That's what
public
we're calling it.
relations series. Okay.
So, are you ready, Mr. Carlson?
Yes.
Okay. So
Well, let me take a motion first
Okay.
and then an
Sure.
explanation. Ms. Dodd,
I move that the Board of Education approve the 9000 series as presented.
and support.
And I'll support that.
Supported by Ms. Dodd, made by Ms. Dodd, supported by Ms. Cotter. Go ahead, Dr. Slaw.
Thank you. So the 9000 series was reviewed by the Communications and Marketing Committee on August 3rd, October 4th, September 12th at the regular Board of Education meeting, and some updates. There were a couple of policies, if you recall, last month that I referenced we needed to review that were not included in the original 9000 series. That was done on October 4th and shared with the entire board on October 7th. To date, we haven't had any questions or concerns. Marketing Communications Committee were satisfied with the policies, and so they are being shared this evening for your review and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, pretty straightforward. All right, we'll go ahead and move for a roll call vote.
All right, Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Ms. Forrest,
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman,
Yes.
Ms. Grismkowski.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. All right, we will now move to new business. And I believe these are just first read items. No voting on these actions this evening. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, and we'll move to item 6A, Board Policy 2000 series.
So the 2000 series, I want to thank the TLT committee. We started reviewing the 2000 series back in May, and we wrapped that up at our last meeting. So the 2000 series is our program. So working with Neola, we've reviewed our mission, goals, our educational program, educational services, resources, and related policies in the 2000s. These policies will replace the current 6000 series. So it is recommended that the Board of Education consider the 2000 series policies for approval at the next meeting.
And what's the official title of the 2000 series?
Program.
Programming?
Yep. So it includes mission, goals, program, educational services, and resources.
Okay. All right, that's a first read. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move to the uninterruptible power supply purchase.
So this was also something that Ms. Pastana shared is in the committee report from TLT. So the uninterruptible power supply, or UPS, as it's known, is a device that sits over at our data center at Milford High School, and it provides backup power in the event of a power failure. The equipment was originally purchased back in 2013. It has reached the end of useful life and is needed of replacement. Working with the district's purchasing consultant, it was advised that we look at the statewide purchasing program as that would be the best option for this equipment. We did receive a quote for not only the hardware, but also installation services and 5-year preventative maintenance. So with battery backup, it is often necessary to service those batteries on a regular basis. So it is recommended that the Board of Education approve this at our next, or at a future meeting. This is budgeted within our 2019 bond fund.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tavernier? Seeing none, we'll now move to Board Policy 8000 series. Can I get the title on this one?
So the title of this exciting read is the operations policies. And so our Finance and Operations Committee had the ability to review those over the last two committee meetings. And so all we're asking is you should, as a committee, take a look, or as a board, take a look at the policies. If there are any questions between now and the next meeting, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But I'm happy to take any questions on those between now and when we meet together again in November.
Are there currently any questions for Mr. Van Gotham on the 8000 series? Thank you, Mr. Van Gotham. We'll now move to BP5 Asbestos Abatement Contingency Approval.
Yeah, so the scope for bid work for Bid Pack 5 included some asbestos abatement. We typically have asked the board to approve that independent of our large bid pack approval, simply because we're working with an independent consultant, and it's really not something that you want to lump into the overall major construction that takes place in these buildings. So as we worked throughout the summer, we did have some additional needs as it related to asbestos abatement above and beyond what we had asked the board for in approval. And so throughout the summer, we ended up spending an additional $25,782. So as a district, we're well into some savings overall from our contingency, but with respect to asbestos, we went in a little bit over for the summer. And so typically with something like this, the superintendent has the emergency ability to approve $4,000 here, $5,000 there. So we're asking that the board just consider the final cost, which was again $25,782 above the original request from the board. What's been about a year from now.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Gotham? Mr. Weissman.
I think it's just important to note that we follow an asbestos abatement program, and we have a plan in place as it relates to that. And during the normal construction, those areas that still might have a little bit of asbestos left, we remove that. It would be fair to say that our buildings have very minimal amount of asbestos left in them, but it's something that we mitigate and also are required by state law to observe and report out. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll now move to the item E, 6E, Elite Detection Canine Pilot Program.
So with the passage of our 2019 bond and building site sinking fund, one of the main objectives for the community, and it was voted on through our strategic committee, if you will, for that project, was safety and security. The district continues to focus on and enhance school safety and security methods and systems designed to keep our students and staff safe and secure. In this upcoming 2022-23 school year, we were also fortunate enough to get Section 97 funds, which you heard a great presentation earlier on that said that we were going to get about $855,000 to be used for safety and security. So we had discussed this. The board had an opportunity to see a presentation, what was now at the end of August. And so the Finance and Operations Committee is bringing this to the board for approval to set up a pilot program where we would bring in a one safety and security dog that would work with us for this school year, basically operating out of our secondary buildings on a rotational basis, but provide us with basically ammunition and explosive device expert dog that would help us in our safety and security plan. This would be funded through that $855,000 that I spoke of earlier today.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Van Gotham? Mr. Weissman.
Once again, I think a number of board members had an opportunity to observe this security program a few weeks ago. Found it to be very informative. The other thing that I think I'd like to bring up too is we had quite an in-depth discussion, not only as it relates to this, but also therapy dogs and how therapy dogs might be brought into the school district, recognizing that the district itself cannot own therapy dogs, but how might we support therapy dogs into the future for those buildings that might find it beneficial. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll now move to LHS and MHS ball field upgrades.
So this request comes as a result of some challenges that we've had at some of our ball fields for both Lakeland and Milford High School. And so what we did is we worked with our athletic directors and really needs that are taking place at some of our ball fields. And so this was not something that was originally a part of the 2019 bond program. But as you're aware, we started that program in 2018, and it's been 4 years since we initially looked at some of the needs that we had in our district. And so there are some things that need to be done for both Lakeland and Milford High School. So we had a bid put out for a base of some of the, the necessities that we consider for the district, as well as some additional add-ons. We are not asking the board for the add-ons or the alternates. We're asking that the board approve the base bid of work, which again has been, reviewed not only through the athletics department, but also finance and operations and executive committee. And so if anybody has any questions between now and our next November meeting, I'm happy to take those and try to provide some additional support for you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Mr. Weissman?
Since this was another agenda item from finance and operations that we spent a lot of time on, while this is something that we're going to be bringing to the board for approval at the next board meeting, because of that, we had an opportunity to first read it, have a discussion with this, the timing of it, of these projects. Some of them are absolutes that need to be done immediately, i.e. some drainage issues at the varsity field, softball field over at Lakeland, and also at the JV field. With approval of this, I've asked Jeffrey and his staff to make certain that the athletic directors know that because of the timing of this, that some of this work might not be done until after the spring season. Because of the facilities or the fields that are going to be used, we need to continue to use them during the spring. And because of the weather closing in, as we're experiencing today, some of those things aren't possible.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We'll next move to Interior Environments Administration Building.
Yeah, so as a result of a state of Michigan audit conducted in 2021, it was determined that cubicles within our HR department needed to be upgraded to induce higher walls with respect to privacy that needs to take place within that department. And HR oversees and handles very delicate information on a daily basis for our staff as well as our students. And so that being said, we determined that we needed to have a quote done on some of the work we have in our admin building. Obviously, we are not, overly excited about adding to our administration building, but we feel like as a result of this audit, in particular by the state of Michigan, we needed to get some updates to our cubicles. So we brought this to the board for consideration. This has been a project of not only mine, but Mr. Tavernier as well as Mrs. Wenger. And so we're asking the board to consider spending just under $40,000 to update our cubicles in the specific area of our building. They are movable. So, as a part of the overall big district plan, we do intend on putting the administration building in some place other than where we're currently housed. And we will be able to bring these state-of-the-art cubes with us wherever we go.
All right. Well, that's good that we can pack them up and move them. But what I will say is we definitely need to move forward on this. The confidentiality of our employees is of utmost importance and highly recommend, and I know this board does support that as well. So if there's no objection, I'd like to move that for a vote this evening. Is there any objections to moving that for a vote? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take a roll. I'll need a motion first.
I'll make a motion that we proceed with the purchase of the interior environment for the administration building, new business G.
Supported by Ms. Forrest.
Second.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote.
All right, Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Forrest.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Myself, I'm a yes, and Mr. Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. We'll now move to Touchpad athletic equipment purchase.
So as a result of the bond passage in the fall of 2019, we were fortunate that we obviously received $182 million. $175,000 for each of our high schools was allocated for athletic equipment. And so what you have here this evening is both of our Touchpad timing systems, which is specific to our swim teams and our outside customers who use our pools on a daily basis use these touchpads for scoring. So it essentially tells you what time you're coming in at on your race. And so both of those are end of life. So as a part of the $175,000 that we allocated to each high school, we're asking that the board consider purchase of these touchpad timing systems. We went out and received quotes, and Regal Timing Consultants is one of the vendors that we've used in the past and provided us a quote. This is a pretty unique type of piece of equipment. So they're not too many touchpad shops in the area that want to provide us with these. So we're asking that the board consider the $28,775 for purchase. $24,000 is going to come from our capital projects fund. And then because we do have some customers that utilize this as a part of our facility scheduling, we are asking that $47.75 be approved with dollars that were earned through our facility scheduling, so as not to bear the complete burden on athletics.
Okay, are there any questions in regards to this item? Seeing none, we'll now move to Lhs Boiler Purchase.
So in Lakeland High School, we typically have 3 boilers that operate all of the heating that takes place in our building. Typically, one or two of them are firing at any time in a cold season. So for redundancy, we usually carry 3 boilers. We have one of the 3 that are not functioning properly right now. So we actually received quotes from some of our Bid Pack 5 vendors who are doing some of our elementary work and who are actually joining our consortium or our co-op, which we're appreciative of. And so we have a quote for a boiler that has been approved through our architect or engineers. And it's a Airco Benchmark 4000 for those of you that were really curious about that. And it's $126,675. It has a 4 to 6 week lead time. I have been told by my staff that we should most likely be okay to get through the first couple weeks here of the heating season. But I asked that, in the November meeting that we get this approved so we can order this boiler and have it installed as soon as possible.
All right, any questions in regards to the boiler? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Van Gotham. And we will now, public comments. There are no public comments. We have closed public comments previously. We'll now move to good and welfare. Do I have good and welfare? Ms. Forrest.
I have a good and welfare. Today's been kind of everything that has to do with Huron Valley Schools Board of Education Day. I had the pleasure of starting my day on a school bus that traveled from Oak Valley Middle School to Lakewood Elementary School. And by gosh, this is a big district that we have. I went on some roads I have never been on before out there in White Lake off of Orman Road. I met 2 bus drivers. Miss Shelley let me in her bus because I was a little early, which is unusual for me, but people that know me, I chatted with Miss Shelley in her school bus and with several Oak Valley Middle School students. So that was pleasurable. She's happy to be in Huron Valley, and she came to us retired but is back working, and I encouraged her to stay as long as she can. Then she radioed over to Mr. Craig, and I jumped on his school bus, and he was very informative. In fact, it was very enlightening. I got some tips that I'll be talking to Mr. Van Gotham and Dr. Salah about in the near future. And he said, "Oh, this is a road I don't turn around on, in the winter." So we picked up the kids, and it was a great ride. It was very quiet at first because, it was early for the kids. But once they all started to pile on the bus, it got louder and louder. And I understand that the new rule is really to not have your backpacks on your back, but carry them in your lap or on the ground for safety purposes. So I did a little reminding too. It felt good to get back in the swing of things. But who are you? Who are you? And I would say, well, who are you? So anyway, it really was a great ride. I was getting a little bit lightheaded there toward the end with the roundabouts and all of that. But I really do value what our bus drivers do. And both of them, one of the things that is unique to Huron Valley, and we've mentioned this before, is that we don't privatize any of our work groups. And both of these bus drivers mentioned that as a big plus for why they are now driving for Huron Valley. And I did say to Mr. Craig, you can't retire in 4 years. We need you a few more. So hopefully we got that done. And then I went over to Country Oaks, and that was the last school that I had worked at. And I kind of forgot, like, it was a beautiful new entrance, and it just blew me away how fabulous that was walking in there. So Mr. Hamilton, the principal, gave me a tour, and I wished Mrs. Hyman, she has a milestone birthday. I won't say which one that is. So I was there for that. So I got to meet our Fortis security guard and talk to him for quite a while. His name was Andy, and he goes between Country Oaks and Oak Valley. And I talked to several teachers, and they were feeling very secure and safe having an armed guard in the building watching out for staff and students. So I know that's working out really well. So that was really good feedback. So, I mean, it was a great morning, ended at about noon, and then, got ready for our gig tonight. So a big shout out to our bus drivers, though they do an amazing job. I only have to do it once in a while. They do it every single day. So I really appreciate them. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any other good and welfare? Mr. Weissman.
Yes, I had an unexpected pleasure today. It was interesting as I was listening to our wonderful teachers from our International Academy and all the work that they do, but it really brings to light that we're an all-inclusive type school district. And when we say we're pre-K-12, we really aren't. We're pre-K adult. Because today I had to do a little errand at Myers, and while I was totally out of my element, I ran into a number of our students who are part of the adult transition program, and had a great opportunity over by the milk and the dairy to meet all of our adult transition students that were out shopping and learning how to be self-sufficient. And we had a good old time, and they were doing a very good job while I was doing a very poor job of going through the list of things that I was supposed to be picking up, and they directed me to what aisle I should be in, not the aisle that I was in. So I just think it's really important for people to note all the various services and opportunities that we provide a whole array of students. And without our teachers and our support staff, I always many times wonder where we would be in our community. So there's another example of our adult transition program. And they school me. It's a lesson that I learned a few years ago when I made a comment about Huron Valley being a pre-K-12 school district. I was corrected very quickly that we were much more than a pre-K-12. We were really a pre-K adult program. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other good and welfare? Ms. Grzymkowski.
I wouldn't be a sports mom if I didn't wish all of our teams good luck as they go into conferences, districts for some, regionals, and then states. Because I think by the time we get back here on November 7th, they will all have accomplished something. And so I just want to say to our Mavericks and our Eagles, I know that you guys are going to be very successful in what you do, and go beat up the rest of the state. Let's go.
All right. Ms. Cotter, anything? All right. So I'll end with good and welfare, and my time on this board is running short. So these good and welfare are going to be a little bit, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to have a statement all the time, but I did want to say I appreciate this board. I know this week you've got some important week in Northern Michigan in regards to the Michigan Association of School Boards. I believe everybody on the board, excluding myself, will be in attendance. So I'm glad to hear that. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate being on this board for the last 14 years. We do not agree with each other on every point, but there is collaboration and respect, which is critical in doing this work of public education. And I'm grateful for this board. I look around the state and there are a lot of Board of Educations that are in flux right now. It is important to have a high functioning board that helps build strong schools, which in turn leads to strong communities. HVS is a high functioning board and is one of the reasons we have a top notch and passionate superintendent, as you heard this evening, great administrators, excellent teachers, and caring staff. A central reason for our strong schools is the board leadership from Tom Weissman, Denise Pastana, and Laura Dodd, who have been solid, collaborative members on this board that bring great viewpoints from a grandparent's perspective and from a parent's perspective to the issues we face at every meeting. Lindsay Cotter, not a politician, but rather a solid public servant who have voted for 13 balanced budgets in her career, always puts kids first and understands the key to successful students are inspiring teachers, dedicated administrators, caring staff that are supporting each and every student. Lindsay is beholden to no one and understands the symbiotic relationship between strong communities and strong schools. Denise Forrest has the knowledge and experience in the classroom from three perspectives: a parent, paraprofessional, and a teacher. She has been all of these and brings this viewpoint to problems and issues that we face in our district. She was instrumental in getting approved the highest pay increases for our teachers in 20 years, and she knows that in order for HVS to be competitive in recruitment and retention of staff, more work in staff pay needs to be done in the days ahead. From the bottom up, she has also been a stalwart along with Tom Weissman and other school board members on school safety and understanding that the safety of our students and staff is a top priority. Amy Grzymkowski is new to our board. I am pleased she accepted my call in January of last year and took my request to put in an application. I told her there was only 2 meetings a month. I don't regret having said that to her. Amy replaced board member Jeff Long, and she's still learning as a new board member. Amy is a quick study, and as she has worked well on her committees with each of our board members and staff. She is a supporter of social emotional learning and understands the importance of principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. She understands that not all students have equal gifts, and equity is important to ensure that all students have an equal opportunity to be successful in our school district. These are the traits and the qualities and the perspectives and the experience and the talents that are needed to have a high functioning board. This is an important institution to Huron Valley, and it's an important election for all our voters. And I hope that they will take the time in the next 22 days to make sure that they cast a vote and that they do not ignore the back of the ballot and the nonpartisan. We have a lot of candidates, a lot of great candidates that have come forward and shown courage to put themselves out there and to step out. And I'm appreciative of those candidates. But I'm particularly appreciative of this Board of Education. Thank you. And now I'll take a motion for the purpose of negotiations to move to a closed session.
Let's move to a closed session.
Ms. Forrest,
I'll support.
all in favor?
Aye.
I actually need to take a roll call vote.
Who?
Can't
Yeah, who
short circuit
supported?
that one.
It doesn't
Amy?
matter.
Supported? Okay. So, Ms. Forrest.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. And Mr. Carlson.
Yes, we are now
All right.
moved to closed session.